Leave 'em. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Well, welcome to the Aloha Friday show, Dr. Glenn Medeiros. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah. I do have quite a few of our friends that are signing on right now, and they want to say hello. So I have our good friend Marty Burns here in Southern California. He is a retired high school football coach in Southern California. There's Marty Burns saying, "Hello there, aloha."
Aloha.
Also, let's see. Gary Gotori says, "Aloha to the Sandwich Island Social Network, ohana." Gary Gotori has an ukulele shop in Corona, California, 951 Ukulele. So if you're ever in Corona, you need a ukulele, you can go and see Glenn Gotori over there. um, Here's Bobo Miles. This is Miles, Kalai Miles. Kalai Miles is in Haleiwa. He is a school teacher himself out there in Haleiwa, and he says, "Oh, that's my idol, Glenn. You still have a fan club going strong over here."
Wow, that's nice to see.
Let's see. C. Honda says, "Glenn, I know you from your singing days. Glad to see you." So we have
Nice to
folks
see
that
you.
remember you well. All right. We have a lot of folks jumping in here. In fact, Bobo says, "Nothing's going to change my love for you, Glenn."
Yes, that's great.
And let me see. Also, we have now Nancy Lewis says here, "Aloha. I was Glenn's driver for many years ago for the Children's Miracle Network. He saw
Okay.
all the Hawaiian music in my car, and that led to a long, wonderful conversation on Kauai and Hawaiian music. Good to see you, Glenn. Oh my goodness, what are the chances?"
Good to see you.
Well, that's great. All right, I think we've covered the bases with a lot of our friends that have tuned in. There's Pualalea Hanamai Kai. Pualalea works with the Kamehameha schools on Moku Okeawe, Big Island.
Very
And
nice.
she says, "Aloha mai Uncle Kamaka and Glenn."
Aloha.
So we have lots of folks popping in here, Glenn, to say aloha, and that they definitely remember you. So my goodness, here, let's just do this here, Glenn. Born on Oahu, raised up on Kauai, um, and so at some point in Kauai, I want to put a couple of pictures up here, Glenn, and I want you to tell me um, what memories are evoked by these pictures. Okay, so here's one. Tell me this: who is this, and why was this person important to you?
Well, the first thing I will tell you is that I was actually born on Kauai also. I was
Oh,
born
okay,
in Wilcox Hospital.
okay.
But anyway, you know the I. It's funny. I don't have my glasses with me, so
Oh,
it's a little
okay.
blurry.
Oh,
But
okay.
that looks like Mr. McIntosh, a band
Yes,
teacher from high school. Yes.
yes.
Yeah,
Tell me.
he was an amazing man. Truly gifted educator. He inspired so much of us to at Kauai High School to be a part of something so special, and he definitely was one of the people that inspired me to become an educator.
Wow, how nice. How about this right here?
Yeah, Arno
I'm
Meister. Yes, so he was my elementary school teacher. He was the one that discovered that I sang. I Prior to that I would sing at home, but he was the first one to not only recognize that I could sing outside of my home, but he encouraged me to get out on stage and perform, and he got I grew up with very little, so we weren't poor, but we lived comfortably, but we didn't have a whole lot. So I was one of those kids going to public school on welfare and free lunch, and he knew that I couldn't afford an instrument, so he used to allow me to borrow his instruments so that I could learn how to play them. So it's really great, man. Very,
So
very talented, man.
so these two individuals, these two teachers from grade school and then in high school saw
Hmm.
something in you, saw the talent, saw the passion, and kind of nurtured you along. Would that be right?
Definitely, I think those would be the two that have inspired me most to want to be like them. You know, they're both very good educators. They're both extremely talented, and they're both very passionate about what they do. They loved their work. It wasn't work for them. It was their passion.
You also adopted that passion for the projects that you um, put your name and your energy behind into music. And of course, we could say the rest is history because all through the 80s and 90s, my goodness, Glenn Medeiros was early on um, one of the early pop stars coming out of Hawaii. My
Yeah,
goodness. You Brown, tell me about Brown Bags to Stardom. Brown Bags to Stardom, Waikiki Shell.
yeah. I was very lucky to be able to enter the Brown Bags to Stardom. I saw Naleo Pilimehana win on television, and I said, "Ooh, I'd like to do that." And I remember getting their autograph when they came to Kauai at Kauai Community College to do a performance, and I was just blown away by them. And I said, I'd like to see if I could do the same. So in my freshman year, I entered Brown Bags to Stardom. I was lucky enough to win the contest at Kauai High School, where I graduated from. And Then I went to the Island Championship, was able to win that. And then when I went to Oahu on my first year, I at the Waikiki Shell, I didn't place in the top three. It was a good experience. I met a lot of people, but it was my second year that I came back. And then won the high school in the island-wide version again. Went up as Kauai's representative, and at the Neil Blaisdell Center in the concert hall. That's where I was able to win the
Ah,
state championship. Yeah, and
wow.
it was an incredible experience because the first year I went in, I had felt uh, I had some confidence because I had been winning some of the local contests. And the second time I went in, because I did not place the first time around, the second time I went in, I just went in for fun. I didn't take it seriously. I went in, I was relaxed, and it worked, to my advantage.
Does the name Kamasami Kong, does that ring a bell at all
Yes.
for you?
Yeah, I mean, the entire crew at I 94 at Kiai was amazing. And of course, he was one of them. And it was so nice to be a part of Brown Bags to Stardom because I used to listen to, that was my favorite radio station at the time to listen to. So, I got to know all of them. And after I won the contest, they would invite me to come on the radio station, and we'd, we'd have a lot of fun together on air. So I remember those times.
About 3 weeks ago, we had Kamasami Kong on the Aloha Friday show from his home in
Uh-huh.
Japan. And
Uh-huh.
I mentioned to him that you would be sitting down and talking story in a couple of weeks, and he said, "Hey, make sure you say hello to Glenn over there." So he's still going strong in Japan, with his work there many years
Yeah,
over.
we're, we're, we're Facebook friends, so I get to see him, and he
Nice,
continues to do well, which is really nice.
yeah. So all of this now. Then, of course, came the cover song of "Nothing's Gonna Change My
Hmm.
Love for You," the George Benson tune that just propelled you into the musical universe globally. You were taken, or you went from Hawaii to Europe. How did that happen? That across the pond that you ended up on the charts in Italy, and how did that happen?
Well, it was. I'll try and make this as succinct as I can. Um, but uh, uh, but basically, when I won the contest singing "Nothing's Gonna Change My Love for You" because I'm a huge George Benson fan, and I had all of his records, and I love the song. Uh, But when it was time for me to record a song after winning, I did not want to record it because I had felt that it was George's song, and I wanted to do something original. But there was a program director there named Jay Stone, and he had told me, Glenn, he really believed that if I recorded the song, it could become a hit because just about a couple years prior to that, uh, uh, The Greatest Love of All was a song that was originally recorded by George Benson, was re-recorded by Whitney Houston, and he had felt that if I re-recorded the song, that it could become a hit only because George was well known also as a guitarist and as a jazz player. So this because of that, sometimes he didn't always get the support he needed from the pop radio stations. So and it was a brilliant move. I was against it. I felt like, I don't want to, but it was interesting because both Nothing's Gonna Change My Love for You and The Greatest Love of All were written by the same writer. So the program director had a pretty keen ear. Nonetheless, this program director had a good friend in Arizona, and after I won the contest in Hawaii, it got a lot of play at the stations here, and it did very well on the stations as far as requests, and then he asked his friend to go ahead and play it for and see what happens at the radio station in Arizona. It went to number one in requests there very soon after. At the same time, there was a man named Lenny Silver who was vacationing in his vacation home in Arizona, who's from New York, and he heard about the record being number one on request, but on a little independent record label, and so he immediately asked me to meet him in San Francisco, and we signed a recording contract with Polygram Records outside the U.S. and with MCA Records in the United States. So my first success out of the U.S. was in Canada. In the United States, the song did not reach number one, in part because it was released in the West Coast first and then the East Coast, and it wasn't until I was lucky enough to sing on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson that it really exploded. And so it peaked at, I think, number 12 on the charts here in the United States. But soon afterwards, it was released on Polygram, and I was very lucky because almost every country it was released in outside of the U.S., it went to number one. So it went to number one in Canada. Then it went to number one in Norway, Sweden, a bunch of the Scandinavian countries, and then France, then England for about 5 weeks. And so it was great because it allowed me to be able to travel the world, see the world, go to about 40 countries and learn about life outside of Hawaii. And it was the best experience I could ever ask for. I mean, if there was a way I could create an education for students that would allow them to be able to travel like that, I would. But it was truly amazing.
Wow. Wow. What an amazing story here. Pualalia says, what were your biggest challenges going from small town island life to global stardom?
Well, I think it's important to recognize that I was also 16 years old at the time. So it's a combination of living on a small little town of Lauai on Kauai, and growing up very country, just real simple life, laid back, and then all of a sudden I'm finding myself in Paris and in London I think for me it wasn't completely alien. Of course, you watch movies, so you see and you read and you kind of, it's not completely alien to me but the most important thing I think for me was the language. First of all, I spoke pretty good Pidgin coming out of Kauai, so and then people would often ask me, they would say, Glenn, what's your first language? I would say, oh, English. So but anyway, I think the language was one thing, but the most interesting thing for me in terms of traveling was just I got to see the world through different lenses. Talking to people and getting their take on what was happening in the world and what was happening to them was truly interesting because it uh, the perception we have of the world here in the United States is at least when I was traveling a lot in the 80s and 90s was much different from what the way we see ourselves here in the U.S. In some in good ways and some in not so good ways, but it was good to learn.
Great answer. Love that answer. That's amazing. Now, 7 albums. You're into it. 7 projects. Uh, the hip hop song with Bobby Brown comes out. She Ain't Worth It. Um, you've already had 8 years out there. You moved back to Hawaii. Why?
Okay, that's a good question. I'll give you the honest one. Okay,
Well, you got locals of me. They can tell.
no, it was a combination of reasons actually. Number one, those two people that that you showed at the beginning of the show,
uh,
they inspired me to want to become an educator. So I did not think I would ever become an international singing star. I just thought that I might try it, and then I had hoped that maybe if I'm lucky, I could have perform at a luau show at night on Kauai, and I could teach during the day. That was my dream, and one of my dreams. But the other one was to become an educator. So as I traveled around, and I was a singer, I really didn't. I learned a lot, but it wasn't the most enjoyable lifestyle. Um, when you live as an artist, it's peaks and valleys. You make a lot of money. You don't make any money. You're sometimes, you're at your end, and you think no one out there believes in you or wants to work with you. And next thing you know, you're working on a big project. Um, so there was a lot of instability, and I didn't like that. And I also wondered what it was like. I wanted to go to college. I wanted to attain my degree and become a teacher. So after 8 years, from about 1986 to 1994, I just basically I had to make a decision. I was 24, and I said, do I move to LA, give it a whirl for about 2-3 years, or do I go to college? And I get a phone call out of the blue from Frank DeLima, and who was a good friend of mine, and and he said, "Hey, I want you to perform with Loyal Gardner because she needed a partner to perform with, and so I performed with her. I made the decision. I said, you know what, this is perfect. I can perform at night in Waikiki, and I can work on my degree during the day." So I performed with her for a year, and then the people there came up with the idea of Frank and I doing a show together. And so we had a show together for about 4 years, and we called it Pocho Nights, but with the KNIGHT nights, and we had so much fun. It was amazing. I mean, every night was just a new adventure. The show was never exactly the same because Frank would always make some kind of joke that people would react differently to, and so I really enjoyed it.
Look at that with the big rubber slippers and doing the
Yes,
that. Oh my goodness, yeah. I
yeah.
I
That hat that I had on uh, uh, was sequined hat, and then there was a loud like red and orange aloha shirt, and so I mean, and then he was wearing a cellophane skirt, and so it was we had so much fun. And the song we would sing is that was the opening of the show. We would sing "Hooray for Waikiki," and it was a lot of fun.
as a Portuguese would say, "Ai, Zazuza, Maria,
I
ai,
I I
ai,
I could
ai, queres." Now you mentioned this wonderful lady. Tell me about your working with and interaction with Loyal Garner.
Wow. I mean, wow. It's so touching to see her picture. She was like an auntie to me. When I moved to Oahu, uh, she really took me under her wing. She said, "Glenn, don't worry about it," because I had never performed on a nightclub. I used to perform concerts for, in clubs for 3,000 4,000 people, and sometimes if I was in Spain, I used to perform in bull rings for about 10,000 people. But I never performed in a small type of club, not your typical teenager club, but an actual nightclub. And she taught me everything I needed to know about how to work with the musicians, how to choose the music, and she even picked out all my clothes. She had it custom made.
Wow.
I don't know if people and didn't and paid for it and everything. I mean, she really took me under her wing, and she just was the best. She would take me out to lunch, give me advice. She was such a caring person and so incredibly talented. I mean, just whether it was playing on the piano or writing songs, she was just. I really miss her. Every time I see her, I think to myself, she would be so happy for me because she always said, I graduated from Sacred Hearts, right? and so, and so, and at the time, I didn't know what Sacred Hearts was because I was from Hawaii, but now, of course, Sacred Hearts is a sister school to St. Louis School, so I work with them very closely. But I always think about her whenever I'm there, and she was an amazing lady, and I was so lucky to be able to work with her. And I was there, when she ended up, taking on the challenge of cancer, and till her very last days. But I always miss her.
Ah. At some point, you and this young man crossed paths as well.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So when I was performing with Frank, I was performing at the Polynesian Palace in Waikiki. It's no longer there, but it's right on Lure Street. But I still go down there every so often. They really made it nice there, but the stage is no longer there. But I used Charo. I don't know if you remember Charo, but
Yes.
Charo used to
Coochie,
perform.
coochie, 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 coochie.
Yes, yeah, yes. So I think he used to perform first, Charo second, and then we were third on the list at the end of the evening. We'd have our show open up about 7:30 or so, and and uh, and so I used to watch him. I think, God, this kid is really talented, really cute kid, and I always had associated him with the Society of Seven because he was always around them. And the Society of Seven used to play. They were another group that helped me. I used to go and train with them to perform in Waikiki because they were so good at it, and we're both in outrigger hotels, but they were on the main outrigger, but I later when Bruno became a teenager, he was part of a small group, and then someone had asked me to write a song for them, so I wrote a song, and they recorded it. But as I listened to them, I thought, wow, these guys are really good. Hopefully, something may happen with them. But little did I know, years later that it ended up being Bruno, who, in my opinion, is probably one of the most successful writers in the world in the last 20 years. So, I mean, it's amazing to have somebody like that. You come
Who
from
knew? Yeah.
Hawaii.
Who knew?
Yeah,
Bruno Mars.
you never know. But he certainly deserves it, though. I mean, he's truly amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to take a little break. We've got some public service announcements to make. When we come back, Glenn, I want to kind of switch it up now because you made the transition to education to become a scholar because you get alphabets after your name. That's why I gotta call you. I gotta call you doctor.
Oh, no, it's okay. You can just call me Glenn.
So we're gonna take a break, and we're gonna come back. We're gonna talk to Doctor Dr. Glenn, and about his passion for education and what led him to where he is now as the president CEO of St. Louis High School. My goodness. We'll be right back. Heritage of Aloha Festival, May 20th and 21st in Santa Fe Springs is rolling around. Want you to put that on your calendar, mark it down because it's going to be a wonderful weekend showcasing the heritage of Hawaii and Polynesia. It's free, parking is also free, so join us. Continuous live music, dancing, island cuisine, outdoor marketplace, a spam musubi eating contest, and ukulele contest sponsored by Ohana Ukuleles. Big mahalos to them. The Hoilina Foundation presents Heritage of Aloha Festival in Santa Fe Springs, California, May 20th and 21st. I'll be on stage. I'll be MC along with Aolani Prua. It's going to be good time. See you there. Ahui ho! Aloha, Uncle Kamaka Brown here. Hope you're enjoying our video podcast for today. But I wanted to share with you that across the nation, Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders are being disproportionately affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Yeah. The Southern California Pacific Islander Community Response Team aims to provide information and resources to help our community stay healthy and safe. Make a conscious decision to take care of yourself and your community. This tells people around you that you care about your well-being and show them that you care about theirs. Now, how can you do that? Well, one way is by getting vaccinated. Yeah, get vaccinated for COVID-19. Get boosted. Now, you can get all the information about all of this on pacificislanderhealth.org. You see it right there. This message is brought to you by your ohana at the Sandwich Island Social Network and our friends at the Southern California Pacific Islander Community Response Team. Aloha. And we are back. Welcome back to the second half of the Aloha Friday with the Sandwich Island Social Network. Our guest is Dr. Glenn Medeiros, CEO and President of St. Louis High School on Oahu. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for hanging with us, Dr. Glenn. Um,
Oh,
and
thank you.
and I was just joking before the break I don't know if I should call you doctor because you get alphabets after your name like that. I gotta show the respect for the work you've done. My goodness.
Uh,
You
you
know.
know, you're not a lot of Portuguese doctors out there. No, no, we have
Oh,
a. You know what? No, I joke around all the time, but it's. I think I always tell students that if I can do it, all of you can do it. So,
I
I hopefully I can be an inspiration to them.
sweet. Okay, we had some of our ohana wanting to join in the conversation. Here's Thyra Abraham. She says, "Aloha Kamaka and Glenn. I love Glenn's stories. Thank you for sharing those."
Thank you.
Uh,
Thanks.
Thyra is a wonderful, wonderful supporter of the Sandwich Island Social Network. And look at this. Nate Jones. Now, if our friends don't know, most of our friends know, Nate Jones is our talent coordinator. He's the one that makes the phone calls and contacts, and he's been talking with Chrissy in your office. And so he jumped on a
Oh,
plane this
great.
morning. He jumped on a plane this morning in LAX, and he just arrived in Honolulu. He's taxiing to the gate now. So hey, watch out! They're gonna make you put your phone away still, or you can he, he would
Oh,
get he would catch Hawaiian Airlines this morning. So Nate
yes,
wanted to check
yes.
in that we were there,
Oh,
because
that's awesome.
let's see. And Marty Burns says my brother Rob Crowell coaches the O line at St. Louis.
Oh, yes, great. Yes, we're so lucky to have so many talented coaches at St. Louis School. People that give back to their time, give back of their time. So,
Uh-huh.
and when if you get to know the graduates of St. Louis School, they we call it bleed red and blue. They're always giving back to the alma mater. So it's very nice to see.
Yeah. And I will tell you on a personal note, I have family that have graduated. The Stascos. Wendell Stasco is my
Oh, of course.
first cousin.
Yes.
His mother and my mother
Uh,
are sisters, so we grew up together out in Palolo Valley, up La'i Road. So
wow.
he's
I
on
love
his
Wendell.
he's on his way
Yes.
to Japan. He said to say aloha. He was going on a trip.
Uh,
He and the wife. So
Please tell him
he's
I said aloha.
I will
Yes.
do that. Oh, here's poor Lilia. She's laughing. Ha ha ha, Dr. Pocho. Hey, watch out.
See it. I'm just gonna say what Frank used to tell me. He goes, "Well, Portuguese are the chosen people."
I love it. Now, uh, Glenn, at some point, this how can I this nugget that was planted in you from elementary school where you had, and even to high school, you had these two mentors, if you will, that instilled
Yeah.
in you, right? This little nugget inside that grew into a seed that flourished inside of you. You wanted to be an educator. And so,
Hmm.
as I take a look at your track over here, vice principal, Marino High School, professor at Chaminade, and then you became head of the school principal at St. Louis in 2015, 2017, the president CEO. My goodness, an amazing track all the way from Levi on Kauai.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so
Yes.
I guess here's a quote now. I'm gonna bring this up, a quote that you made. Oh, your words gonna come back to haunt you now. Watch out now.
Oh. Oh.
Oh. Here's what you said. Whether as a singer or an administrator, I always felt a responsibility to the people of Hawaii and to the kids out there watching who may want to do the same thing. Felt a
Hmm.
responsibility to the people of Hawaii. Uh,
Yeah.
how does that continue to resonate with you?
You know, I guess for me, I've always tried to make sure that um, that just like Mr. Meister, and the people that came before me that inspired me to want to become an educator. I wanted to do the same for others, and I wanted to make sure that I always kind of kept my nose clean. I stayed away from doing drugs. I I tried to live a good and honorable lifestyle. And I wanted to let people know that uh, sometimes in life you reach your highest point, as I did as an educator, but then I mean as a singer. But then when things slowed down, I also wanted to have people know that that doesn't mean your life comes to an end. It means that you can find something else that you're passionate about and restart, and do that. And so I I've always felt a responsibility. Wherever I go, it's always Glen Medeiros from Hawaii. It's never Glen Medeiros. So when I meet people, they it was very helpful for me to live in Hawaii when I was traveling in Europe, because Americans are not the most popular people in Europe, but as soon as you say you're from Hawaii, they take you in. They invite you to their home. And I tell them I am American, but I was born and raised in Hawaii, and I love Hawaii, and I'm not Native Hawaiian, but many of my friends are, and they would just take me in, and so it helped me. And so I was always a little worried about my image, and because I wanted to make sure that people could know that it is possible to do whatever you desire, but just remember that sometimes you in life you have to pick up and start something new. I see some people, they put everything into music, everything, and it's great, but a lot of them struggle in life because they never get to a point where they can live comfortably. But for me, I've always felt that yes, I was lucky enough to sell the records that I did and travel around the world, but I would have been perfectly happy if I was on Kauai as a teacher and singing at a luau at night or performing somewhere, because I just love to sing, and if I can get paid for it, that's even better. So, but anyway, yeah, I hope I answered that question well, because
Yes.
it is important to me, and in my life, I have gone through ups and downs. So recently, where I work at St. Louis School, I we schools go through stages. I've been this is my I'm completing my 7th year as president at St. Louis School, and we've been struggling. I've had to make a lot of tough decisions, of outsourcing or letting people go just so that the school can survive, and that at times that has led to certain people, not being happy with me as president. But I always know that all the decisions that I've made in my life has always been to try and help others. It's never been about me personally, and but all you can do is try your best. And today I have a little bit of an update of of that particular quote. I would say that for me now, I'm 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 always cognitive of the fact that there are people watching me and who want to emulate me, but I'm also cognitive of the fact that I'm human, and that sometimes we for whatever reason can the perception can be different, and you just have to move forward in life, and you just have to just keep trying to do the right thing and make the best decisions. I cannot as a leader, you cannot control the perception that others have of you, and when you're in a leadership role, sometimes you're making decisions that some people have a very difficult time dealing with.
Sure.
Yeah.
Paul Alia says, what would your number one piece of advice to a young artist that's catapulted into stardom as yourself? And I think you kind of a little bit touched on that, on being true to yourself and remembering the direction you're taking. Anything else you want to add to that?
I have two pieces of advice. Number one is listen to other people and their advice, but but make your own decision for yourself. So, um, when you talked about the song that I sang, "She Ain't Worth It," on MCA Records, I did not want to do a hip hop record, but the record executive said, "You either do a hip hop record or you won't have a record deal." And at the time, I had nothing to fall back on. It was singing was my main source of income, and so my second piece of advice is not only to just do what your heart tells you to do. You know yourself the best, because even if you make a mistake doing what you want to do, at least you can look back and say it was my choice, and not make a mistake with somebody else's choice. But the second thing I would say is, and I know this sounds like I'm just saying it because I am a doctor and I'm an educator, but I truly believe that everyone interested in becoming a musician should get their degree first. And the reason why I say that is because you grow and you learn about the world when you go to school and you meet people. And as singers, we start by imitating others. And then it takes a while for us to create our own sound. And those years from about 18 to 22 is when you start creating your own original sound. And I think that's really important because a lot of teen singers, they go out there, they're still mimicking others yet. They haven't created their own sound. And they the music business can just, take you and then just, just squash you and release you, very easily. So when you get out there, you only have one chance to create that first perception of who you are. And so for me, I'll always be known as a love singer, love song singer. That's going to change my love for you. Even if I can perform, do other types of music, that's what I'll always be connected to because that's what I first did. So I try to tell people, get your degree, and then when you're out there, after you get your degree, move to LA, New York, Nashville, whatever it takes. Get out there, give it your all. But when you're faced with the decision to do something that you don't want to do, if you have a degree, you can at least say, hey, I'm not doing that. I'm going to do what I want to do. There's not a lot of people like Prince, who I was lucky enough to meet and talk to and work in the studio in where did he live? Minneapolis. But he chose, record company said, no, you can't write your own music. You can't play the instruments on it. He waited until he finally had the chance to do it his way. But not a lot of people have that discipline and that courage because it's hard being a musician and just getting by in life. It's a very tough life to live.
That is beautiful. Words of wisdom. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Um, you have been a driving force behind a recent partnership with Kamehameha Schools to provide
Yes.
a need and merit-based financial assistance to St. Louis students, 60% of whom are Native Hawaiian heritage. How is that?
Yes.
That's one of the things that you've done since you've been at the school.
Well, first I asked them if they could help the Portuguese, and they said no. I said, "What about the ukulele?"
We'd have chosen. We'd have chosen
No,
one.
it's funny. I used to teach music, and I one of the things that I would talk about was how the Portuguese came on a ship called the Ravenscraig. It was the second ship out of the Azores and Madeira Islands to come to Hawaii for them to work on the plantations. So when my daughter was at Punahou School, she was applying for a scholarship there. So we went and did her history and found out that my family actually was on that same ship
Wow.
that the Braguinha was on. But anyway, the Hawaiians took it and made it much better. Anyway, so he's an instrument now. But anyway, yes, we have 63% Native Hawaiian at St. Louis School, and I take a lot of pride in that because St. Louis School was actually started in 1846, so it was actually around prior to the start of Kamehameha schools. And what a lot of people don't realize is that if you look at many of the major Native Hawaiian writers, very important people in Hawaii's history. Uh, they had received their degree from St. Louis School, which at the time was called Ahuimanu College, which graduated people like St. Damien. They graduated from there, and others, just incredible Hawaiian thinkers, writers, and so in meeting with Jack Wong at Kamehameha Schools, I mentioned to him that we play a really crucial role, I think, in the history of Hawaii. And I saw it my first day at St. Louis School. I thought it was, I thought we were we were celebrating some kind of special May Day or something, because I would see the kids chanting before they go into the classrooms and other things. And I didn't realize that a lot of the Hawaiian influence is embedded in everything that we do at St. Louis School. And so I really appreciate Jack being able to listen and be open to helping the Native Hawaiians that do go to St. Louis School, because as we all know, there's so many people trying to get into Kamehameha schools, and they just can't. There's not enough room there. And so luckily Mr. Wong was able to take a look at not just St. Louis School, but some other schools across the state, and recognize that if we can't help them on our own campus, let's see what we can do to help these families that are attending other private schools. And I know there's a perception that most private schools are very wealthy, but there are only a few wealthy private schools in Hawaii, some of the wealthiest in the nation. But most schools are just hanging, just by a little bit, just to get by every year. In 2013, St. Louis School almost closed. We were in millions of dollars of debt. And like St. Francis, who had unfortunately closed, we were almost there. But thankfully, our Alumni Association and the Marinist stepped up to the plate, and we were able to, get through that together. But I feel very honored that we have this relationship with Kamehameha Schools. Our Native Hawaiian students have they're amazing students. Just like, I wish I could help all of our students, to be honest. The Samoans and the Portuguese, of course, the Chinese and elsewhere. But in particular, the Native Hawaiian story is something that my father was a tour guide on Kauai, so he used to leave all of his books around the house, and I've read almost every single Hawaiian history book on Hawaiian history. And when I started traveling, my records did quite well in France, and so I was invited to sing in Tahiti when I was about 17 years old, and I never forgot being in Tahiti thinking, why isn't it this way in Hawaii, where people can switch from Tahitian to French to English? And I knew someday I would be an educator, and I remember making a promise to myself that no matter wherever I end up, whether I'm a teacher or principal, I'm gonna fight so that every single year that we're in that school, whatever school I'm at, that we teach the Hawaiian language, because if you lose your language, language, so much of the culture is embedded in that, and for us not to be, and of course in history at one time we had the highest literacy rate in the world, but to be able to work towards that, for me, is extremely important. And I take a lot of pride in the fact that whether the kids are Hawaiian, Portuguese, Japanese, Chinese, we live in Hawaii, and if we don't learn how to speak and we don't know the culture, then what's going to happen to it, right? I'm so blessed. I thank God that we have the opportunity to have that collaboration with Kamehameha Schools.
Sweet, 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 sweet. We have Lawrence Aki all the way from Molokai. He's a Kumuhula. What's up, Lawrence? Nice to have you join us all the way from Molokai. And Lisa Strum has joined us as well. And let's see. She says, who knew so many Hawaiians reside in St. Louis? I lived there for 7th and 8th grade. Okay. Wait, um, okay, that's good to know, Lisa. We're talking about St. Louis High School in Hawaii. However, who knew get how many Hawaiians in St. Louis? So there, okay. I
It's so
love it.
funny because our school, we're a Marinist school, so there's like about 17 Marinist, there's 14 Marinist schools around the United States, three colleges, and the administrator's office are in St. Louis. So every time I go to St. Louis, we meet there once a year. I wear these St. Louis shirts, and they keep thinking, "Oh wow, I've never seen that before." But anyway, yeah,
Yeah. And I don't know if you know the answer to this, but Thyra was saying, if you know if the Kamehameha still only accepts 25 girls and 25 boys to enter kindergarten combined for all islands. I don't know that quantum with Kamehameha. Maybe Pualalea might know, or but um,
yeah. I'm not sure myself, but I know they're trying to take in as much as possible, and they, you know, and I think that's why they're looking to schools like us. A
mhm.
lot of some of our kids that are on our KS scholarship, uh, they end up transferring over to Kamehameha schools at some point, and it's sad to lose them. But at the same time, it's we're happy because their ultimate goal is reached for many Native Hawaiians. Attending Kamehameha schools is such a special thing, and I understand that.
Hmm.
Uh,
Here's Pualalea, who is closely associated with and works with Kamehameha schools. She says, no, the numbers are different because we have a lot of school campuses now. Well, that's right. Before it was only
yes,
1 point on Oahu. Now we have a number of campuses. There you go. You know,
yes.
our ohana, man, ask any question. Someone will know the answer to that. I tell you right now. We're, oh, come on. Um, as we come near the close of our time together, Glenn, here's a quote from you where you say, all boys Catholic school isn't necessarily a fit for everybody, but those who do choose St. Louis School find an experience like nowhere else, one steeped in Hawaiian
Mhm.
culture, Catholic values, and brotherhood. And I think that,
Yes.
boom, I think you very succinctly put that together there for the
Uh,
school. Yeah.
Thank you. There's so many really strong schools here in Hawaii, and we're lucky in that respect. We have about 17% of our population here in Hawaii attend private schools, and even a lot of our public schools are doing amazing things too. A lot of wonderful educators out there. But at St. Louis School, we're the only all boys school left,
Mm.
and for some students, being in an all boys environment is really the one place that they actually end up finding success,
Wow.
for whatever reason. On the other hand, we've had students that came to us and it just wasn't a fit. My son graduated in 2018 from St. Louis, and it was a great fit for him. He did really well in math, and he's now a civil engineer, and he's doing well. And but there's my family there. But my daughter graduated from Punahou, and she, it worked out well for her. She's in law school now at UH, and she's enjoying that. And there's my wife of 25 years, so she hasn't let me go yet. So
We
so
just saw Lyric. We just saw Lyric on what show was that? Uh,
American Idol.
American Idol, auditioning for
Yeah.
American Idol for the 21st season there, and she came in with her lays. And when she came in, I went, "Huh, it's from Hawaii. I'm from Hawaii. My name is Lyric Medeiros." I went, "Hello." Nicely done. Beautiful family.
Oh, thank you
And
so much.
yeah, yeah. Um, Glenn, thank you so much for spending time with us on the Aloha Friday show. We appreciate. We know that you're busy with the school and with your family and keeping everything all pono over there. So thank you so
Oh,
much. Thank Chrissy for us as well for working with us to make it happen. Put it all together over there. Appreciate it.
well, thank you, Kamaka. I mean, yeah, I really enjoyed this interview because you're a real pro. You do your homework. I appreciate you getting those pictures, even though it was a bit. I got a little emotional looking at those pictures because
Aw.
I haven't seen them. I haven't seen them in a long time. So, but thank you for doing a great job on your side.
My pleasure. My pleasure. All right. Thank you, everybody, all the ohana that joined us today for the Aloha Friday show. Good fun, you guys. Haole, uh, haole lahanau to Coach Marty Burns. It's his birthday today. Brother is grinding
Wow.
some poke and some grinds today on his birthday. I'm,
Happy birthday.
all right. Take care, everybody. Hang on there, Glenn. We will be right back. And we want to say once again, mahalo to Glenn Medeiros for being with us on the Aloha Friday show. It's been a good time, guys.
It's Aloha Friday, got me feeling all irate. It's the weekend finally, we gotta celebrate. Hey, I've been working so hard all week, but listen closely, cause the ocean, she's calling me. Yeah. I'ma link with the team, grab some bottles that's green, let's pour out. Oh no, you know you can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning. Yeah, it's Aloha Friday, got me feeling all irate. It's the weekend finally, we gotta celebrate. It's Aloha Friday, I ain't got no worries, no, I'm in no hurry, but at least